Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Shifting Happens, episode 30, where we are going to be talking about all things the Brazilian Grand Prix. And yes, I am delighted to be back. I've been away on parenting leave, I've been away on singing leave. But yeah, it's good to be back to talk all things F1 with the guys. I'm delighted I'm joined by Marshall, working diligently as always and making my face 10 times bigger than it should be. We've got Fly. Hope you're doing well, buddy. But yeah, let's get straight into it. The Brazilian Grand Prix, or the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, however you want to call it, has taken place. Lando Norris had the perfect weekend, the absolute perfect weekend. He came into the week 1 point ahead of Oscar Piastri. He was 36 points ahead of Max Verstappen. He is now 24 points ahead of Oscar Piastri and 49 points ahead of Max Verstappen. We're going to talk about Oscar and Max later on. But to the guy that said that we didn't need to worry about Lando Norris and that he would win the championship easily, Marshall, you must be feeling pretty vindicated right about now.
Well, Max was scaring me for a bit because I had, at my peril, counted him out after the string of summer races where he was struggling, especially Hungary. But he definitely put on a valiant effort to put the pressure on McLaren. But I never really doubted that, and this is going to get me in trouble. Fly, please take this in the spirit that it was intended. But Lando's better than Oscar and always has been. And eventually that was going to even out in terms of consistency of performance. And like, I think I mentioned this to you, BaxtyB, but Lando Norris is one of those drivers that has very apparent flaws. Like when you watch him, it's very clear what he's not good at. So when you look at it and you say, this is what kind of driver Lando Norris is, those flaws stick out. But in terms of overall performances, they probably don't impact him in terms of his result as much as you think. He's far more consistent, and yes, he's scruffy wheel to wheel. He telegraphs his overtaking moves. He gets the red mist going on when he's in a wheel to wheel battle. He's prone to the, odd Q3 mistake or just not hooking it up when he needs to. But usually when he does those things, he's coming in second or third still. And he doesn't throw his race away. Or he's qualifying fourth or fifth and not way back, He's usually his mistakes are, with the exception of Baku, where I think is one of the ones where, he had an open goal and could only do seventh. But, for the most part, other than Canada where he put it in the pit wall, even though he does some of these scruffy mistakes, they don't actually cost him in the end and they don't impact his consistency. And then up until Baku, where Oscar started to struggle mightily, you would have looked at these two drivers and you would have said that, on balance, Oscar had the pace or had the upper hand. But if you actually look at it, Oscar was quite fortunate in terms of he would do very poorly in Q1 or Q2, and then he'd hook it up in Q3. But eventually that was going to come back, that was going to average out, that you couldn't bank on all your mistakes being when it didn't matter. And, it always felt to me on raw pace, on sheer speed in the car, even when Oscar was ahead, more races than not, Lando was the faster McLaren. He may have qualified behind, he may have got out of, sequence, or he might have been stuck in dirty air. How many races were there earlier in the season where, Oscar wins, but we were always saying, well, if Lando had put it on pole, he probably would have walked away, but he screwed up qualifying and therefore Oscar won. But if you just look at the pace, I think it was always there. He just had to stamp out those mistakes, and he's really come on strong in this, run after the summer break, and Oscar, has faded spectacularly. But even before that, you could see that he probably didn't have the ultimate pace that Lando did. And I just did have confidence all the way through, because almost I don't cheer for either of them. Like, I would have been actually probably happier to see Oscar win, just because it's a fun story and he's a new kid, and he was so impressive earlier on. Like, I would have probably preferred Oscar win, but just watching the races, I always just felt confident that Lando was going to come good and had him covered in terms of pace, and that over a 24 race season, this stuff evens out and the faster driver will likely win.
Yeah, I mean, I'd given up on Lando. I mean, to be fair, I gave up on Lando last year, realistically, particularly after the Brazil weekend where I thought he was just woeful. And then there's just been so many incidents this year where you just think, no, this isn't it. He's not it. He's not up to it. He's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. But the last two races for me in particular have been majorly impressive. I think Mexico, no one really predicted that Lando was going to win. I know what you're going to say, Marshall. It was a devil's advocate call. I was in the chat. I watched that episode. You're not sneaking that one past me. No one really expected McLaren to be fast there, and yet he dominated the weekend with the biggest winning margin of the weekend. But I felt like that was a don't you forget about me kind of drive. And he ended up taking the lead of the championship. And I wanted to see how he responded this weekend, having that pressure back on him for the first time in 6-7 months of being the championship leader. And he handled it beautifully. I mean, championship level driving. And he's found it at the moment he needs it the most. Whereas Oscar has gone backwards. He has been shockingly awful. Max hasn't really had to do anything to beat Oscar, really. Oscar's kind of screwed himself. He's decided to read the Mark Webber handbook and include the implementation of the choke chapter. Look, when you think of 2010,
no one give Oscar a mountain bike right now.
Yeah, please don't do that. Yeah, no, please. Though I want to bring reference to something actually. Friend of the channel, Cameron, sent a little graphic to me and Shez earlier, and it gives a breakdown of because we've done sort of 3 chunks of 7. We've had 21 races. We've had 3 chunks of 7, and in the first 7 races, Oscar outscored Lando 146 to 133, and Max wasn't that far behind, 124. Then the middle stint of the season is what has really been on Max's undoing, because Lando outscored Oscar 142 to 138, so similar-ish, just the other way around. But Max was 5th in that period of the season. He was behind Charles. He was behind George. He only scored 63 points, and that's really been Max's undoing. And then in this last set of 7, Max has scored 154, which is the most of any chunk of this 7. Lando's only scored 115, and Oscar is only 4th behind George, who scored 104. Oscar scored 82. So this last one has been the undoing of Oscar, whereas Lando has been consistent. And that's one thing we've been trying to point out, is the consistency that he's had. It's just that his mistakes were more high profile, I feel, than Oscar's were up until Baku. Obviously, I've not been around for a few weeks, so the season's been fascinating to watch. And I think the big one for me was COTA, because I thought the way Max dominated that weekend, I thought, that's it, that's game over. Max is going to charge McLaren down. He's going to win it in Abu Dhabi, probably relatively handily. He'll win every race until the end of the season. They've turned that car back into the RB19. But there was a major shift in momentum in COTA, but what we didn't realise is that it wasn't towards Max, it was towards Lando. I remember how confident Andrea Stella was at the end of that race. He said, we had the pace to compete with Max. We just ended up behind Charles. And Charles did a brilliant job in COTA. And actually what Andrea Stella has said has borne true, in so much that since Lando's got into that clean air, and we know clean air is king in this reg set, but he's hooked up his qualifying laps. He's hooked up his starts as well, particularly in Mexico. That was very impressively handled. he's it's been a tremendous surge from Lando in the last 2 races. Yeah, since the summer break as well, he's definitely been the better McLaren driver. But I think some of those drives were getting overshadowed by papaya rules and the brilliant performances of Max. But he's almost there. I think if he can come out of Vegas relatively unscathed, I mean, I thought Vegas was going to be the crucial race. I don't think it is now. Now that Lando's gone back to back in Mexico, Brazil, he's given himself that breathing room where he can, maybe even finish outside the top 5 and still go into Qatar with a chance of winning the title. So it's going to be fascinating to watch, and it's going to be. I feel like Lando's proved me wrong, and only one driver's ever done that before, in Nico Rosberg. But he was flawless. He was really, really flawless. He didn't put a foot wrong, did he, Marshall?
Yeah, and I mean, I think Oscar Piastri is going to petition to get rid of sprints, and maybe we can be united in that.
Except in Qatar, because he's won both of them.
That's true. Yeah. But I mean, the way that his sprints are going this year.
Oh, mate.
Let's
talk. Go on.
Can I just ask, like, who paid who? Like, was it the teams paid? I almost said Neil Swittich, but it's Rui Marquez. Like, who paid him to do a rolling start? Was it like the teams because they didn't want more crash damage of another standing start?
Okay,
but
so
we had a red flag.
Full disclosure, I haven't actually watched the sprint race because I was in a rehearsal. So
okay.
I completely missed it. Yeah.
Well, so the sprint was better than the Grand Prix.
Start after the red flag, yeah?
Yeah, so they had the red flag when Oscar crashed.
I've seen it done in wet conditions. I've seen it done.
But it wasn't wet. So, the Oscar crash was because the curb was wet. The track was bone dry. There was no reason to do a rolling start. I think that they were like, well, we already are down Bortoleto. That was actually not even happened.
No, Bortoleto was at the end, yeah.
But we were down Colapinto because he's in the wall and that car looked pretty messed up. Hulk continued, but they're like, do we want to have more carnage on a standing start in a sprint race and then have more teams scrambling to put their cars together for qualifying?
And something inevitably happens on a race start or a restart in Brazil because it's so tight into turn 1. We saw it in the main Grand Prix as well.
They basically did a rolling restart just to preserve the cars for qualifying in 3 hours. That's basically how it looked to me. But that thing nobody's talking about is I'm really surprised that Hülkenberg and Colapinto did not get a reprimand, maybe not a penalty, but at least a reprimand for crashing under waved yellows. Like,
I didn't even know that was a thing. So there you go.
Well, Oscar hit the curb, spun, hit the wall. They're coming into that corner at full speed. Waved yellow.
Yes, of course, because Lewis got a reprimand in sprint quali, I think it was, for doing the same thing. So
it's like the rest of the field was coming around. Hülkenberg hits the same curb, spins. Colapinto hit the curb even earlier, spins, and they all crashed in. Like Colapinto crashed as Hülkenberg was leaving. Like there was every chance that Colapinto could have crashed into, the departing Hülkenberg car, right? Like,
that was nasty. Yeah,
like whatever
Max
happened
nearly had a
to
tank slapper as well.
Like whatever happened to obeying yellow flags. Like they should all be cognizant that they are in a yellow flag zone and reduce their speed, and nobody did.
Yeah,
like they all were pushing right on the edge of the curb. Like that yellow flag should tell you that there's track conditions ahead, that at least another car has hit the barrier. Like you should never see, like, unless it's one of those situations where you got like fresh rain down on a particular corner and they all arrive at that corner and there's no grip. You see this a lot in bike racing where, one will go down and then they all get there and they all hit the same patch of water or the same patch of oil and they all go down. that's unavoidable, because even if you back off like 25%, you're still going to wipe out. But that's not what happened here. They didn't slow down at all. They took the fast apex through the curb and all hit the same spot and spun out. Like, they should have all been at least under investigation and made to go to the stewards and given like a warning. I understand, like, but that can't happen. That top racers in the world should be obeying yellow flags. And I was just watching that and I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're all replicating Oscar's accident, that you have a yellow flag showing right in front of your face.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
No, I agree. I completely agree. Completely agree. I think we should probably get on to Mr. Piastri, because I think it's fair to say, since I was last on this show, his title challenge has completely capitulated. I mean, he was 34 points ahead of Lando after his DNF in Zandvoort. I thought it was game over at that point. I thought there's no way Lando's making that back. And then he's just gone to crap. I mean, some people will tell you that the papaya rolls incident in Monza was the big one. And I'm just like, I mean, possibly, but then that was nonsense by McLaren. They should never have done that. That was stupid. But he's just gone to pot. Baku was one of the worst displays I've ever seen from a championship contender ever. Just to crash out in qualifying and then false start and then crash out on lap 1, and then moaning and whining like a little bitch after Singapore, which was Lando a little bit cheeky? Yeah, of course he was, but it's racing. It's turn 1. And then he's just been rank, absolutely rank. I mean, for me, the penalty in the main Grand Prix was completely justified. He lost control of his car. Could Kimi have left him more room? Yeah, sure. But, when you're the one overtaking, the onus is on you not to cause the accident, realistically. And that's exactly what happened. And poor old Charles Leclerc was a passenger. There was nothing he could do at all. And then you've got, just then not really having that. I thought his pace was okay in the main Grand Prix, but couldn't get past George, which is not great. I mean, okay, Kimi held off Max later on, but just the way this championship has fallen apart for him is one of the most spectacular I've ever seen. And it's sad for Oscar. I mean, I appreciate he's inexperienced. This is only his 3rd year in the sport, but the Formula One World Championship does not care how long you've been in the sport. If you're competing for it, you've got to step up. And up until Baku, he'd done that. And then after that, it had gone completely. It's just gone so horribly wrong, where I think it's done in Qatar if momentum keeps going the way it's going. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a pretty good chance that Lando has a 25-point gap to both of them before we even head to Abu Dhabi. And I don't know, Oscar's a confusing case. And like, I know I hate doing the victory lap here, but I kind of always saw this coming, not to this extent, but I just felt like all season, everything was going Oscar's way. And he was in a position where he was leading the championship by quite a significant margin after the engine failure for Orlando in Zandvoort. And if you look at the two drivers head to head in terms of their performance, it's really hard to separate them. So you end up with this like advantageous position despite, being second best, that, or at least equal. And then you get into, Lando having nothing to lose. And that was almost the worst thing that could possibly have happened, is for Oscar, I mean, is for Lando to have that engine failure in Zandvoort, because now this race that has been so carefully stage managed and these fine margins that are being handed back and forth from race to race between these two drivers, preventing them from racing. Well, now Lando doesn't have any reason to hold back anymore, right? He doesn't have any long game to look at because he's going into every race looking at, I need to close this gap and make up for this engine failure. So it almost kind of forced Lando to drop the complacency that I think he was showing. And then it was a matter of like the sprint. Oscar's just desperation in these first corner, first lap moves because he's just trying things that just aren't on at all.
Yeah,
and Lando
Kota was completely unforgivable. Like that was bad.
And then you've got Lando, going for broke at the start in Singapore, but doing it in a way that he's not nerfing other competitors out of the way or causing his race to end. He's just sort of leaning on his teammate because he knows he has to. And then Oscar getting upset about that. It's like, well, this is because the situation has changed, Oscar. Your teammate is desperate. He needs to make up for this failure that wasn't his fault. And this means that the gloves are off to a certain extent in terms of how they are going to battle each other on track.
And then there was the nonsense of repercussions and all of that crap. I mean, Jesus Christ. And Lando hasn't needed them because he's been comprehensively faster ever since that happened. I mean, it's ridiculous from McLaren that, I think they're going to get away with it. I mean, as I said earlier, after Kota, I thought it was game over. I thought Max was going to win the championship, but Lando's stepped up when he's absolutely needed to. So I think, it's a shame for Oscar, but I think he'll learn from this. He's a smart kid. He's very talented. We've seen that. There's so many positives to have with him. He's got the cojones wheel to wheel. He's got a lot of smarts about him, but the pressure of this championship has clearly got on top of him, and it's not been nice to see. But that's sport at the end of the day. We've seen worse collapses than this. So yeah, a shame for Oscar, really.
And I don't understand, yes, earlier in the season, Lando made some mistakes. And I'm not a huge Lando fan. I don't feel like he would be in this position if he didn't have, a really, really good car like he does this year. But to say that he doesn't deserve it, like people are saying, is so ridiculous in the context of the years and years of Formula One. Would Damon Hill have a world championship if he wasn't in a Williams Renault? Would Alan Jones or I'm trying to think of some other ones like
Jenson Button,
you name them. You need a good car to win, and you need a team behind you in most situations that you're going to benefit from a team call over your teammate over the course of the season. This is the thing that Papaya rules confuse me. It's because you look at 2008 or 2007, you had the two Ferraris in Massa and Raikkonen that were quite equal. But if the situation dictated it in the race, if Massa was just off pace today and Raikkonen was in for a win, they would absolutely have compromised Massa to benefit, to go for the race win.
They did it so many times when he was teammates with Alonso, particularly in 2012.
But he wasn't a championship contender.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
But I mean, in 2007, he was in it for most of the season.
Yeah.
And then it reversed in 2008,
Absolutely.
Kimi was not as quick, and but they let them battle, but they still let the race happen and reacted in the moment in whatever situation was better for the driver who was in an advantageous position, right?
Yeah.
And this is part of why I just don't understand that whole McLaren operation, because if you look at it, in isolation, sometimes you'll get into a position where say that you got Max in the lead and Lando is right behind him, and then Oscar is right behind them in third, right? Aren't you going to want to use that third car to try and force the hand of Max to get covered off if they pit? Like, you want to have those options at your disposal. And if you're just telling the two drivers, nope, you're going to pit one lap, you're going to pit the next lap, and we're not going to play strategic games, we're just going to let you both have the same strategy and it has to work out the same, you're basically ceding that ground to the one-car team. That like advantage you have as being a 2-car team, you've just basically said, nah, we're not going to play it.
Yeah.
We're just going to let Max beat us because we don't want to choose between our two drivers today, and we're not going to take advantage of track position. Sorry.
Now, I do have to bring up a comment from the already aforementioned friend of the channel, Cameron. I shan't have the Damo slander, of course, talking about Damon Hill. Cameron, what you need to remember here is that Marshall is the president, vice president, treasurer of the Jacques Villeneuve fan club. So maybe a little bit of salt there from Marshall, but we've spoken about him already. We need to get into it. Max Verstappen, whew, what a drive! What a drive! Pit lane to P3, could have had the win. Possibly could have won it, but Red Bull decided to take the decision to pit quite late, put him on some softs, see if that would get him back into that winning position. That didn't happen, but it was definitely a sensational drive by Max, and him underlining again that he is, without a doubt, probably one of the best on the grid. What have we got here? Gilles and Jacques, beautiful. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. That's a lovely picture. That, yeah, I rate that highly. But yeah, speaking of Max, I mean, it kind of highlights what you were saying earlier. You need to have the car and the team behind you, and Red Bull were not behind him on Saturday with that Q1 exit. But then they did the pit lane. They made the right decision. They completely rebuilt the car and gave him a position. If they got it right the first time, there's an argument to say that Max may have won the race because he would have had the pace to challenge Lando. But that's Formula One for you. Sometimes you get it wrong, and even Red Bull are fallible. They're not perfect all the time. So,
do you think he should have stayed out?
I would have liked to have seen it. I think Lando probably would have got him because he was closing relatively quickly, and I think Max is the kind of guy that if he feels like he could have held Lando off, he wouldn't have pit. He would have said, "No, I'm good. I can hold Lando off on used tyres. He's got used tyres as well. I'll be fine." But I think the fact that he agreed to pit kind of suggests that he maybe thought, "I'm not sure this is going to go our way." And I think he was more than happy to leave with the P3. Well, I think he wanted P2, but Kimi did a phenomenal job in holding him off. We may not have time to talk about Kimi, but he was brilliant the whole weekend. But yeah, I mean, this just underlines again why everyone says Max is the best driver on the grid. I mean, he is the best driver on the grid right now. He's showing that. The fact that he's 49 points behind is still bonkers given how dominant that McLaren has been. He's kind of held on. It looked like he was going to come back and win the championship. He still could, but it's a big ask at this stage. What did you make of it, Marshall? I mean, it was fun. I mean, it was exciting to watch.
I mean, it was pretty cool when he was like up to 5th on lap 20 or something after starting, right at the very back and
had a puncture as well.
Yeah. Although, conspiracy tinfoil hat time, I think that the plan was always to get off that hard, and that they said they had a puncture to not give away the game, that the hard tire wasn't working.
Ooh, nice.
I think that was all just like, they knew that tire was not, it didn't have the pace in it.
Yeah.
And they were like, let's get off of this sucker and get on to 2 mediums for the last 2 stints.
Yeah.
Because they had a spare set.
Because of the Q1X, he had so many sets of tires. Yeah.
So it's like, let's get off of these. But if they ditched the hards strategically it would have meant that nobody else would have tried.
Yeah.
So, we found out because didn't Alonso run on them for like a million years?
I can't remember. I was focused on Max and whether he could actually win the race.
Alonso's hard tire stint was like 40 some laps, and he was just losing places like crazy. So eventually everyone caught on that the hard tire was garbage. But that made me think in hindsight that, they were just kind of pulling the dummy and saying, oh, we got a puncture, Max, we better pit, when it was really, this tire is crap, Max, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
And that gave him better strategic options later on. But I mean, that's just gamesmanship. There's nothing that says you can't do that. I wouldn't put it past them. It's not as crazy as
I mean, we live in a world where McLaren have actually asked for clarification on the engine changes and the part changes that Red Bull made, because they're like, well, hang on, surely that should come out of their cost cap allocation and not just because it wasn't for repairs. They voluntarily made that. So they're already winding Red Bull up. I love that from McLaren. I think it's great. Just going, sorry, should we be looking at that, please? just to put the heat on them. Yeah.
Just need to find a play. Like, I'm sure you can find an example in the past of McLaren doing exactly the same thing, but they'll just pretend that they never did that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no. So, yeah, but I mean, it was a great drive from Max. I mean, what I would say is, people calling Max, greatest driver ever. It's like, well, no, because I mean, it's been done twice before in the last 15 years. Obviously, Seb did it in Abu Dhabi 2012 after he got DQ'd. So
if
it's not even the first.
You can say that, but
yeah, absolutely. And Lewis did it in 2014. Okay, look, he had the spicy car, and but he spun on the first lap and still came third. I mean, it's still an impressive performance. And but yeah, it was a brilliant drive from Max. But at the same time, it was a horrible result for him because he needed to win. Yeah, we can celebrate this drive, but you have to look at the reality of it and say, well, actually, you still lost ground to Lando. Like in the last two races,
he needed to pass Kimi. He needed to. That was so important.
That's the thing. It still doesn't matter because he's still losing to the championship leader. He's still being put further away from the championship lead. And I think he needed to win Mexico and Brazil because Vegas isn't a guarantee. I think people seem to think that he's going to dominate Vegas, and I'm like, he might well do that, but George Russell and Kimi are going to make his life an absolute living hell. And I fully expect them to be very, very fast there. And it's
George has never won at the same track twice, though.
Neither's Lando. Lando's the first driver to ever win his first 8-9 races or something at the same track. At different tracks, which is a nice little fun stat for people who enjoy that sort of. I think he's got more wins than that now. Is he 11 wins now? I think so.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So what's his? Does he have any left on the calendar that he won last year? I can't even remember.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
He won Abu Dhabi last year. Yeah.
So he can snap that.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, look, as I said, it was fun to watch Max. It was fun to watch him do his thing. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you need to be winning. Like we can glaze him all he wants, but Max wants to win a championship. He ain't doing that finishing third behind Lando Norris. That's not how you win a championship. So
it felt like he knew that too.
Absolutely, I think he knows it's now miracle territory. Yeah, he's going to need Lando and Oscar to take each other out in Vegas just to have a chance. But as long as they play it sensibly, I think the McLarens, they're not going to win the race.
In 07 territory.
Yeah, basically you're going to need that, which that's not guaranteed, I don't think, particularly with Qatar, I think being a McLaren track. So yeah,
well, maybe McLaren will run Lando on extremely worn tires that are down to the cord, and then he'll crash coming into the pit lane.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe we'll get that. Who knows? Yeah. Before we go, I think it would be remiss of us not to talk about the Ferrari drama that erupted post Brazilian Grand Prix. I've already done a video on it on my channel, but I want to get Marshall's view. And it's a shame that AJ's not here because he is our Ferrari fan. But John Elkin basically coming out and saying that the reason why Ferrari have been crap this year is the drivers, that they need to talk less, focus more about driving, and focus more on Ferrari. And I just thought, excuse my language, who the fuck do you think you are, John Elkin? Like, seriously, like, Charles Leclerc's given his entire career to your team. Lewis Hamilton is trying to change your team for the better, and you are ignoring him. Like, okay, Lewis was sounding off about the stewarding. Given the bullshit that happened in Mexico, I think he's well within his rights to have a little bit of a moan. Yeah, he got the penalty in Brazil, which, okay, yeah, look, fair. I think that was fair enough. I don't know if you agree. This is the quote. If we look at everything else, it's not up to standards. It's important that our drivers focus on driving and talk less. That's the quote from John Elkin. Shut up, John Elkin. Jenson Button had it perfect. Maybe John should lead from example. Yeah,
man.
Your thoughts on this, Marshall?
It's so funny that Cesare Fiorio blamed the drivers. I mean, John. I mean, Sergio Marchioni blamed the. Oh, sorry. I mean, Louis Camilleri. Wait a minute.
We've been here before.
I'm forgetting all of my Ferrari team bosses that aren't named John Todt, or Luca de Montezemolo, who now works for McLaren, which is very weird. Yeah. But
Stefano Domenicali.
Yes, Stefano. But I mean, Stefano was kind of a benign Ferrari leader. He didn't really say much. Like, he didn't,
other than Hockenheim 2010, but
Felipe. But I think the one that did it most was like Marchioni, I believe, was the one that would like always chime in with comments about like how the team was being run, and it's just classic Ferrari, isn't it? It's just
absolutely.
And like Elkan's not even like I don't even understand why and what his role is in terms of, like, he's been there since 2020.
Elkan took over in 2018.
Was it 2018?
Yeah, July 2018.
So it's not like he's got this like sterling record of success building up this team. It's been in like one crisis after another in terms of, like what does he have to hang his hat on to say that, Ferrari is better since he got there? So maybe you should be quiet.
He's got WEC.
Oh, great. They've got a third party sports car team running that for them. Like, it's not even their own team.
I know. Yeah.
Like,
the thing that got me with this.
Of course, though.
The thing that got me with this, right, is that he praises the mechanics who, look, have won the pit stop championship this year. Okay, look, fair enough. You've done your job. But then he praised the engineers. And I'm like, hang on. This is the same engineering group, the same group of geniuses that somehow took a car that was 14 points away from the Constructors' Championship and has put them 300 odd points behind and built a car that screwed their season up after 2 races. And they're getting praise for improving the car, and yet it's the drivers that are at fault. Like, come on. Seriously? Like, seriously? You've got a race engineer and driver partnership that just isn't working with Adami and Hamilton. That's got to change next year. You've got Leclerc, who is practically tearing his hair out going, what on earth more do I need to do? Lewis is submitting dossiers saying we need to do this and this and this and this. We all thought that Lewis was hired at great expense to make Ferrari a better team, to turn them into the championship-winning outfit that they want to be. And yet, after 21 races, he's being undermined and being told to shut up and just focus on his driving. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. You're telling a guy that's won more races than you in the last 20 years and won 7 championships to your 1 to shut up. Come on now. come on. And I had Hamilton fans telling me like, oh, they won't chuck Lewis out, because I my view is this is the beginning of the end for Lewis at Ferrari. He's gone at the end of next season if things don't pick up. And people say, oh, they won't chuck out Lewis. They won't chuck out Lewis. They chucked out Fernando Alonso. They chucked out Prost. They chucked out Vettel. Those are 3 world champion drivers who didn't win championships at Ferrari. They chucked out their most recent champion, Kimi Raikkonen, twice. And they chucked out their greatest driver in Michael Schumacher. So don't for 1 second think that they're not going to chuck out Lewis Hamilton, who's done nothing for that team other than a sprint win.
Yeah. Fernando Alonso was the best driver they had in the modern era, and he left with like acrimony after almost winning them 2 championships they had no business being involved in. And you know, oh, he criticized the car. Well, did you see the 2014 Ferrari?
It's one of the worst cars ever built. It's a disgrace. I mean, it was terrible. And I mean, you wasted the peak years of Fernando Alonso. You're wasting the peak years of Charles Leclerc. You didn't waste peak Seb, but you still had a good Seb in the car. And
they like, whether they're wasting Hamilton's years or not, they're wasting the input that he could have to contribute to Charles winning in the future too. Like,
well, that's because Charles out the door next year anyway. So
you think?
Oh yeah, he's going to go to McLaren or Aston or something like that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So they're going to end up with like a lineup in 2027 of Behrman and
Piastri, probably. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like, I don't think Max could win at Ferrari right now because they won't listen to him. If you're not going to listen to Lewis, you're not going to listen to Max. Like, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I think Max wouldn't go, because Max knows he would take one look at that team and go, "I'm not going there."
Ridiculous but you know decision. What? You know what's kind of evil of me, and somebody asked me today yesterday on Threads. They were like, they sent me some fan video that somebody made about like all the "we are checking" and "we'll get back to you" radio messages that they always give, and then you know that the drivers are asking for feedback and their engineers just crickets, you know, those sort of moments. And they were like, I'm like, and they were asking me what I think about it, and I'm like,
it's Ferrari.
I don't think about it at all. Like, I don't think about why Ferrari is Ferrari. They're just Ferrari.
They're very Italian. That's all I have to say. They're just so Italian. It's like, yeah.
But I love it though, in a weird, sick way. It's like a comforting remembrance of my childhood watching Jean Alesi and Gerhard Berger like toil around in those, you know, scarlet Ferraris in the 90s as they would like break for the dumbest reasons and lose races because the camera came off of one and broke the suspension off the other. Just the most hilarious ways that you could lose Grand Prix, or like Jean Alesi about to win in Monza and it just like the wheel bearing explodes, and you know, just the classic Ferrari being Ferrari, or firing Alain Prost, or like the nightmare 92 car. Just like, it feels so comfortingly familiar that it's almost
like a nice little warm hug, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is the Ferrari I remember. It's like a little dose of nostalgia on my Sunday afternoon.
I mean, if Ferrari want to get serious again, John Elkann just needs to write the checks and shut up. I mean, let's be honest. Like it's like, oh, Lewis, I brought you to the team. You need to win, and it's like, yeah, but I can't win with the team like this.
What they need to do is they need to take that Iveco full of money that they backed up to Lewis Hamilton's mansion. They need to fill it back up with even more money. Yeah. Drive it to Ross Brawn's house, park it at his garage, and tell his wife, how much of this truck full of money do you want to let him come work for us for another couple years? Because unless they get like someone, and then as soon as Ross takes the money and comes back, Elkann should immediately resign and make him the CEO and team boss and everything.
And chairman, yeah.
Yeah, just divorce himself from anything to do with running the F1 team.
That's what he needs to do. That's what he needs. He just needs to say, right, Fred, you're my guy, because he's backing Fred. So it's all right, Fred, you're my guy. Sort this out. You tell me what you like Dietrich Mateschitz did it at Red Bull before he passed. Christian, you tell me what you need, I'll write the checks. And that's what he needs to do, but they just can't help but get in the way of themselves all of the time. And I think Fred needs to be able to say to that engineering team, shut up and listen to our drivers. I saw the Niki Lauda quote the other day where he said the driver is the best barometer for how well a car is being upgraded and what direction you need to take the car. Particularly when you have drivers like Lewis and like Charles who know what fast cars should feel like. Particularly Lewis, who's won 7 goddamn world championships. Like, if you start listening to him, your team will have success, even if it helps Charles in the future. You've got to listen to him. You brought him here for a reason. Actually, let him do what he's there to do. But Ferrari won't do it. They're too proud. They're too proud. And as I said, I think Lewis and Charles could both be out by the end of next year, and Fred could follow them out the door as well, possibly.
I mean, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing. And even if you were to bring in a Ross Brawn, I don't think it precludes keeping Fred or a Fred-like person, because look at how Jean Todt ran, Ferrari, and Ross was like their race and technical liaison or whatever.
Yeah.
I think you bring Ross back to be the Jean Todt this time.
I don't think Ross has got any interest in doing it, but you need to find somebody of that ilk who will just say, you leave me alone, let me do my thing, and I'll get on with it. So yeah, we could talk about this all night.
Who would that be, though? Is there anyone obvious that could fix Ferrari? Is there anyone that has the ability or the persona to make them butt out?
Bold call, but I might say Seb.
What, as a manager?
Yeah, he's hinted at it, and he definitely confirmed that there were talks at Red Bull, but nothing materialized.
I don't believe in drivers.
Or Christian Horner.
I just heard the heart-wrenching sound of of AJ just completely dying at that suggestion.
Wherever AJ is in the world right now, he's just gone, something has been said. I can feel it in my...
I just don't know if there's anyone out there that can command the sort of immediate respect to be given the space. Like, Newey would have been the only one.
Wait, the answer is nobody. You know how we sometimes compare certain sports to this? Ferrari's like the Dallas Cowboys. Until Jerry Jones passes away, that franchise is not going to change. I feel like Ferrari, something drastic like that has to happen for them to realize, okay, this is how you win championships. We're not living in the 2000s with Michael Schumacher and etc. Like, it's not going to work.
No. 17 and 18 years of failure from Ferrari, and somehow it's Lewis Hamilton's fault.
Actually, two of the most best drivers we've seen ever, and he's saying it's important that our drivers focus on driving and talk less. Even my son's outraged by this comment.
Yeah, I know, right? Absolutely. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. That is episode 30 of Shifting Happens in the books. We won't do Vegas predictions today. We'll see if we can get an episode in next week, and we'll do a full triple header preview.
Oscar, George Russell.
Yeah, I might just go Kimi Antonelli, actually. He's on form at the moment, but yeah, there you go.
Good call.
Yeah, just to shake things up a little bit. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. You can catch Marshall Double Wave Yellow on Threads and on Instagram. You can catch Flyer Apex 63 cards. You can catch me, BaxtyB, at BaxtyB on YouTube, on Twitter, on Threads, even on Instagram now. I'm uploading stuff on there. And you can catch us Shifting Happens on Instagram and Threads. Shift does happen on Twitter. This has been the Brazilian Grand Prix Review, and we shall see you all very, very soon.